Dr. Laura McNeill at the University of Alabama. I teach instructional design and technology, and I've been working in instructional design since 2015. And I'm so happy to be joined by this amazing panel who I know personally, professionally, educationally. So I know that they'll have a lot to share with you that's so valuable. Preston, you want to take it away?
Sure. My name is Preston Ruddell. I am an instructional designer at the University of Alabama. And a word on how AI has changed my work, I would probably say augmentation. I don't know that it's really disrupted a whole lot of what I do yet, but it's made me so much more effective in the things that I do. And that's how I've chosen to work with AI, and I've really been enjoying it.
I'll go next. My name is Justine Burke. I'm currently an instructional designer in the Human Resources Department at National Debt Relief, based out of New York City. If I had to choose a word or phrase, I would go with thought partner and confidence builder. I see it as a collaboration tool, a creativity tool. I've taken to partnering with it in a lot of tasks that I do.
I can go next. Hi, I'm Ciera Cornelison. I'm an instructional designer at Brasfield-Gorrie, a general contractor based in Birmingham, Alabama. And my one word is efficiency. Some of my monotonous tasks are made much more efficient through AI.
I can go. My name is Detra Allen. I'm an instructional designer for Rollins, Inc. We are a pest control acquisition company in Atlanta. One of our big brands is Orkin. So if you've ever seen the Orkin diamond around, that's one of ours. Before becoming an instructional designer, I was a high school teacher. So, I'm happy to be working in instructional design. A word that would describe my relationship with AI would be upgrade. It's made the work that I do so much more efficient that now I'm able to be more creative in my work. And so now all of my work is upgraded because I can just add razzle dazzle and sparkle because AI does the heavy lifting for me.
And then I'll go. So my name is Amy Bethke, and I'm an instructional designer at Belmont University for their College of Medicine. We just had our second cohort of students, so we are kind of brand new. Kind of one word or a phrase that I feel like describes how AI has changed my role is it's streamlined. We kind of look at the College of Med as it's almost like a startup since everything's kind of brand new. So we're developing a lot of different processes. And so for me, it's really kind of helps streamline and build those processes.
It's beautiful, beautiful. I like the sparkle, Detra. I'm going to coin that term. So we'll start off with this question, and anyone can go first. So what one or two AI skills have become most important in your ID workflow and why?
I can start. Oh, you go ahead, Detra.
I was going to say one that's been huge for me, and big shout out to Dr. McNeill, but prompt engineering is huge. It's the base of pretty much all of the work that I do with AI. If it wasn't for having a great prompt, I don't think I'd be able to get the results that I do and be as efficient as I am. So
I have the same answer as Detra. It is critical that you play around with your prompting. If you ask it a basic question, you're probably going to get a basic answer. So prompting is about layering in the right context with your goals, your audience, your tone, your constraints, and any other relevant information. And really the better input you give it, the better output you're going to get. And if you don't kind of figure out something that works for you, you might never get what you're looking for. So yeah, prompt engineering is like top skill.
I would actually take like a step further, like beyond prompt engineering. One of the things that I've been doing is actually creating my own ChatGPTs. So ChatGPT has this feature where you can basically create your own version of GPT and you can feed it a prompt. So, because I used to do prompt engineering, but what I found was that you had to paste this huge prompt that you've been working on for a very long time. And then you kind of you're stuck to that chat, right? Like you go back to that chat every time you need to do something. So with a GPT, like you basically program the GPT with that prompt. So now whenever you talk to that GPT, it already knows what the deal is. You don't have to tell it, okay, you are an instructional designer for a university and you are supporting this college. It already knows all of that. So you can just go straight into asking what it needs. And over time, like whereas I used to work on my prompt, now I find that I add details to the GPT and I'm kind of like basically creating my own coworker. Obviously I'd rather talk to my real coworkers, but if they're not available, it's really good in a pinch.
So I use AI for a lot of research purposes now. So I work in construction with zero construction background or knowledge. Used to be an English teacher. So I am quite literally starting way behind everybody else. So I love to use AI like Notebook LM to upload hours and hours of safety lectures or things about concrete pours and floor plan, like all of this stuff that I don't have time to ask the SMEs. I use AI to explain it to me and give me summaries. And yeah, it breaks down this highly technical content in a way that I can understand and actually start course creation.
And I kind of like everybody else have used it in very much the same way. Something just because, like I said, we're still kind of building from the ground up. I use it a lot for like project management and kind of like document generation to kind of help streamline those processes. And since I work with a lot of different departments within the college itself, it's really helped help me like find a way to how to align my processes with their own internal processes. And so sometimes what I'll try and do is take, hey, I need to be able to do this. How can I create some sort of task list that allows me to see everything from every department that needs to be completed?
Great answers. So we'll take it a little further. And I'd love you to talk about one or two specific AI tools you've integrated into your daily workflow and why.
Probably the biggest two tools I use would be ChatGPT and Grammarly, and I don't even think it's like close to like some of the other tools that I've tried.
And why is that?
ChatGPT, it's done so much to help me with the language of what I communicate. Like I often liken it to like when you're trying to remember a song lyric, and it's like if you could hear that first lyric, you'd be able to sing the rest of the song. And I find that ChatGPT kind of helps me in that same way, where like I know what I want to say, but I can't say it. So the moment I use ChatGPT to help, get just somewhere to start, I can now take that output, read it out loud. Does it actually sound like my own voice? And then again, I just use it to augment that process. So I don't spend, whereas I used to spend 30 minutes trying to pick the perfect words to send this email. Now that email's ready in like 5 to 10 minutes, if that long.
I'll jump in. We are a Microsoft campus, and so we have Copilot. And so I've heavily used Copilot, especially with kind of generating those documents and those presentations, which has been really helpful. But I also really like using Gemini. I feel like when I've used Gemini and I've tried to create or work with an instructor on discussion prompts, and I'm able to give it like, hey, this is what that instructor wants to convey in their discussion prompt. And it will give me side-by-side results of, well, which way do you want to take this prompt, which I really like. And it'll put it kind of side by side and I can say, okay, what context is the instructor really trying to get from students out of this discussion board? And so I kind of switch between the two depending on what I'm trying to build for the course and which instructor I'm actually working with.
Great.
I use Articulate's built-in AI tool every single day. That's like an upgraded purchase that our team has made recently. And I love it because the AI is only looking at that one specific course. It's not pulling content from all over. So when I need a course description or learning objectives or a new interactive, it is only looking at the content in my RISE course, which again is super helpful when I'm having to create things on topics that I don't know anything about.
A tool. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Um, a tool that I use often is called Synthesia, and it generates videos. And I saw someone in the chat asked about that. We don't have time to like bring someone in and record a video. So we'll use Synthesia, and all we have to do is type that script out, pick our avatar. You can pick a cool background, and you know, we roll with that. And I can drop it in the chat as well.
That'd be great.
I was going to speak a little bit more on ChatGPT. It has become just like a lifesaver in my process. I use it for, okay, a little bit of context. I did spend 3 years as a higher ed ID, but I am in corporate now. So my job is mostly like e-learning courses and job aids. So a lot of script creation, taking a few pieces of bullet pointed notes and like, you know, writing it into full words for courses. But I use it to also improve tone and clarity of email. Overthinking, how does this sound? How does it, well, I'm going to put it in ChatGPT and ask it to give me like, okay, can you soften this up just a little bit? Actually, can you make it a little bit more professional? It's really good with like tone revisions. It also just helps me get out of my own head of overthinking with like, generating, testing, refining, really anything, and making those decisions faster versus, okay, I'm going to spend 45 minutes weighing pros and cons. I can do that work in 10 minutes, having ChatGPT just to brainstorm with me and bounce ideas around. So that then saves me time to get to go to other important tasks. And I also want to throw out a nod to Storyline's AI voiceover. I will be honest, I was heavily resistant on AI voiceover for a while. I like to record voiceover myself. I think it shows a commitment to the product and it allows for more conversational tone, but the rest of my team convinced me and they were right. It has sped up my workflow so much and in turn, just again, given me more time back to spend on other things. But I can generate a line of audio, and if I don't like it, okay, I adjust the settings and regenerate. I don't have to, you know, lock my office down to be silent, pull out the mic. It's great for quick tweaks. It auto generates closed captions, which are they perfect? Absolutely not. But it's a good starting point to be able to clean them up that way instead. And then in turn, that's also taught me how to just write more clearly and conversationally from the start, like being able to anticipate how the AI is going to take it and handle it.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I love the efficiency, those upgrades, and Emma Stanford, who some of us know, said Storyline's AI voices are the best AI voiceover. So thanks, Emma. So when we're talking about making our work significantly more efficient, can you share, I know we've shared some examples, but could you share another example of how AI has made your work more efficient?
So I really could go on and on and on about the stuff that ChatGPT has helped me with. Just my personality, anytime I get my hands on a new tool or a new technology, I always just want to push it to the limit, like find out exactly what it can do and what it can't do. So from a practical point, I use it all the time to fill in gaps with my SMEs content. For example, we do module overviews. Sometimes professors don't provide those, but I can plug the content into ChatGPT and say, hey, this is a master's level course on social work, on, you know, nursing, whatever, and have ChatGPT generate that with me. So now rather than sending our subject matter expert a email and waiting for a response, now I've already have that content and I just need them to give me the thumbs up on it. That's like the practical thing of what I'm doing. Probably the funniest thing I've ever done with ChatGPT. Every semester we have to meet with professors, right? Like our development cycles with the school year. So every new semester, we're working with a handful of new professors. And for the first time, a professor invited me for lunch. And I've never met in person, so that was interesting. And I kind of joked to my team, I'm like, I'm about to get in a car with someone I don't know. We hadn't decided where we're going to eat for lunch, so don't know where we're going for an undisclosed amount of time. I'm like, if you haven't heard from me by like 5 p.m., like call the police. But yeah, so I go to ChatGPT and I use the deep research function and I tell it, hey, I'm about to go eat lunch with this professor at the University of Alabama. This is their subject. Can you create a dossier on them so that whenever I go to eat lunch with them, I know who they are? And I felt like Big Brother. Like this thing, it found their research interests. They had been published in journal articles. I knew like the work history. Like I almost felt like a little weird having the information. But again, all publicly available. Like I could have Googled and found that stuff eventually. But it's so cool, like what you can do with an AI tool.
Thanks.
All right, I'll jump in. I am also a chat GPT lover. So I'll give you a couple of more specific ways that I use it. Technical issues, troubleshooting. I've uploaded SCORM packages in and been like, why is this not marking complete in our LMS? It can navigate LMS questions when our admin isn't available. Like, hey, how do I do this thing? It walks through processes and tools that I'm not confident with. Photoshop, Premiere Pro. How do I blur this thing on this layer? And it can walk me through step by step. But the reason I love it so much is I can ask follow-ups and clarify what I'm seeing. Like take a screenshot, like where is the button? And it can tell me exactly like where the button is. So I get that immediate support rather than digging through the articulate community or waiting for a ticket. And my second big, like, oh man, this has really changed things for me is knowledge checks. I can input my objectives and script and a few topics or slides that I know they're probably going to get caught up on and get draft knowledge questions in seconds. But then I build on that. Okay, give me scenario-based questions. Give me different interactions. Give me questions of varying levels of blooms. Give me additional answer choices for a question. So that lets me kind of quickly explore several different approaches and pick one to refine versus just writing things down and seeing like, oh, do I think this will work? It's just really sped it up. And honestly, like it gives some creative things that I wouldn't have thought of myself.
Awesome, Justine. Thanks.
Similar to Justine, I have also been using ChatGPT as my own IT tech support help. I've been using it for HTML code to build more custom interactions in Rise through the Mighty plugin, which is so worth it. And like I do not know HTML off the top of my head, but I tell ChatGPT what I want to do, and it gives me the source code, and it's amazing. The second one I've already kind of briefly talked about is, again, the Rise AI and creating knowledge texts. What I found through our design process is that it was taking a really, really long time for SMEs to give me quiz questions or knowledge check questions because they are quite literally on a job site building buildings, like they don't have time for that. So to speed up our process, I can now create knowledge check questions in the Rise AI tool and then send them those questions for review. Like, please make sure that these actually make sense and that these are, good answer choices. But you can do multiple choice, you can do short answer, matching, whatever your heart desires. But that has really freed up our project timeline.
Great.
I'll jump in. So for me, it's been really helpful since a lot of our instructors are MDs and have never taught in medical education before. So it's been really helpful when they have an idea and just some general points that they want to cover, that we can kind of take those basic ideas and transform it into an interactive activity for their students. Like, for example, we had a tight timeline. I had an instructor who wanted to do a type of telehealth activity, and she goes, we have 2 weeks. What can we do? And so we worked together, and she had some, I want, students to be able to ask these questions, and then I want them to be able to reflect on those answers. And with that, we were able to take just kind of the basic points that she had and some ideas for a script and use Copilot to kind of put it together and generate this activity workbook for students. That's something that they can take with them as they go through, telling them, what questions do you ask when you're trying to take a history? How do you figure out their previous illness history? And then allow them to kind of reflect on those questions and their thoughts and how they can change those questions, while also putting them in different situations and simulations of what they can encounter. And so we used AI heavily to kind of help us develop that out, and it ended up being a really cool process for their students.
I would say, again, big ChatGPT fan as well. It's almost like our fifth team member at my work, because we are a very lean team, but we are a very big company. And so we've got a lot of projects coming at us at times. And sometimes, we call the departments our customer. Sometimes our customer will say, we want a training on this, but we only have these 5 bullet points, and we'd like the training to come out in a month. Good luck. And I'm like, okay. So we refer to our 5th team member to help build our content. And even taking a step farther, once it gives me the content, I say, okay, put this into blocks for an articulate rise course. And it's going to tell me, okay, use a processing block here, put this and this here. And then we give it to our customer and say, okay, are we close? Is this kind of what you wanted? And so it gets us most of the way there. So all we have to do is add some razzle dazzle, make it look nice, and then, edit the points that, where they may want to change things. But it gets us most of the way there.
And that means so much. Oh my gosh, with everything you're juggling. So we're going to switch gears. And is there an AI tool or a process that did not work for you, and why?
Image generation. I have never been able to use it in a way that is useful to me. Personally, one of the colleges I support is a School of Social Work. Whenever it comes to stock imagery, there's not exactly as much thematic material out there that's unique, as opposed to if you're doing a film class, there are all kinds of design elements you can use. But it's like with social work, it's like, oh, I can okay, a clipboard, I guess, maybe some pens is like some clip art. So I really was eager to use any kind of image generation to give me stock photos of clinical scenarios. And I've never been able to have success with it. ChatGPT gave me some false hope yesterday or the other day. I was able to generate an image. I'm like, oh, this is great. And then I tried to generate another image, and I noticed, I'm like, wait a minute, this is the exact same image. It's like the 2 people are in the same position in the same living room. So I was like, can you change the scene? And it gave me 2 people in the same position, but now they're in a park. And I was like, can you please? And no matter what I did, ChatGPT, although the one picture looked really good, I couldn't get it to swap it up. So I've never been able to have success generating images with any. I think I've done ChatGPT. I think I've also tried to use Adobe Photoshop to generate an image from scratch. Photoshop has some generative fill stuff that I've been able to use very successfully. But when it comes to, I have nothing but a blank canvas and I want to generate an image on that canvas, I've never been able to successfully use AI for that.
Same. I'm really glad you brought that up first, because I was scared to bring up how bad I think the Canva AI tool is. So what I run into, it's we need images of people incorrectly doing things on a job site, for safety training. We obviously don't want to actually take a picture of a person doing something dangerous. So we're like, oh, AI, let's use AI. And y'all, it will give you the craziest outputs, no matter how good our prompt is, no matter how many details we give. I have not been able to get exactly what I'm looking for from AI. We've used Canva AI and the Adobe one. I don't think we've used ChatGPT much for image creation. I've also tried to give it I get a lot of PowerPoints to clean up and a lot of smart art in PowerPoints. I'm like, oh, this could be a much better Canva graphic. What if I give it this smart art graphic and ask it to redesign it? Didn't work. And I've even looked up Canva's like their own examples and the prompting, it would take you longer to write the perfect prompt than it would to just use a template. If anyone has had success, I would love it. I would love to know.
I've had success using Gamma, which was mentioned in the chat, but that's creating PowerPoints. But you can put in a prompt, it'll generate a good image, and then you can decide like cartoonish or line drawing or realistic. So that Gamma is amazing. But I don't know if you can export those, probably. So yeah, worth a try. Justine?
Yes, I unfortunately have the same answer. I have not had any luck with generated images or infographics. I've tried Canva, ChatGPT, Adobe, and Articulate's built-in options to create illustrations. And you can kind of choose like drop downs of different styles and whatnot. They just don't match the tone that I need. And honestly, a lot of them just look like they're AI generated, and that's not a product that I want to put into a course with, somebody with an extra arm growing out of their head or buttons or whatever.
I'll go. I will say that was my answer as well. I have always struggled with trying to find the images and trying to like revamp the banners or trying to just add little elements here and there and run into the same thing. I will say, since I've been doing kind of more of administrative stuff, is that I need Excel sheets, and it is always not perfect with generating a spreadsheet. And sometimes I feel like I have truly given it the perfect prompt or as close as I can get, and it will generate an Excel sheet. And I'm like, where did you get that information? I have no idea where that came from.
Oh, no.
And so I know for me, that's just knowing I have to use Excel sheets. I do run into that pretty frequently.
I would say like a challenge that I have working with AI, aside from when it like makes things up sometimes, would definitely be we use a lot of generative AI, and like we can't put in employer specific information. We can't put in company specific names. So like as efficient as it is, sometimes, with putting in ABC company and then taking it out to get what I really want, it can take a bit of time sometimes. But I've never had anything totally go haywire. I'm a fan of image generation. Um, so those are two challenges that we have from time to time working with AI.
Yeah. Okay, have some consensus here. Have some problem solving to do. So we will move on to how do you ensure quality and accuracy when using AI generated output?
So for me, like, I don't know, like one of my, I say it all the time, AI is not a substitute for academic rigor. It just isn't. It's never going to be an expert. And especially like if you look at like some of the theoretical frameworks that are out there with regards to like online interaction, like the the community of inquiry framework.
Yes.
Like the way I see it, because I tend to look at it from like an instructor's perspective. Again, it has to do with that augmentation, right? Like I want it to boost my social presence. I want it to boost my teaching presence. I don't want it to replace that. And I think when you start to use AI to replace those aspects, I think it starts to cause a chain reaction to your course. It's like, oh, okay, well, like the moment I get an assignment feedback and I'm like, oh yeah, the professor clearly ran this through AI, and that's now my feedback, I instantly disengage from that course. So I don't know. I think it's, like I use AI to augment the things that I would be saying anyways. Very rarely, like I try to tell myself, like never copy anything in a ChatGPT window. Like always type it out, always say it out loud. Does it actually sound like my voice? And I try to use it, for things that I know about. So that in that way I'm the expert. And if I'm not the expert, I make sure that before I present this as a fact, if I'm even in a position where I'm doing that it goes through someone who is an expert. So going back to the module overviews, those don't get public. Like let's say it's social work. I'm not a social work expert, but that's not going live. That's not going in front of a student until someone who is a social work expert has seen that and says, yes, this is legitimate. It makes sense. It sounds good. let's go with that.
Thanks, Preston.
I would say, just kind of going off of that, how I view AI is it's a rough draft. That's how I've always viewed it, is that it's nothing that I take kind of at face value, especially working in medicine. And there's, things I have to teach myself. But kind of that same idea is that I just view it as a rough draft that is there to give you kind of spark that idea, but then for you to go in and really kind of just review and make sure that it's what you're looking for, it's what your SME is looking for, and it's delivering that content that students can relate to. And like Preston said, not just saying, oh, they just put it in AI and I don't see any kind of relationship here to that feedback you're providing me. So I always view it as that's that first rough draft, and then to kind of build upon that.
I will agree with all of those points for sure. You cannot treat anything AI gives you as final. It has to be reviewed. You're probably going to have a lot of revision, but whether that's tone or verifying facts or just checking alignment or just like, this isn't going to work for my people, I need to like tweak this just a little bit. I also give my AI generated content to someone before I get to like SME level, like just a colleague, like, hey, can you look over this? Like, does it sound like us? Does it have like the look and feel that we're looking for? And then once I've made those edits, I'll often send it back to ChatGPT for one more round of refinement. And then that last layer helps me feel good about like the product I'm putting forth.
Yeah, the review process using AI is super important. And I always tell people when I've used it to create something so they know to be like extra on the lookout if this does not sound correct or like our company voice. And I think that's an important part of using AI is being upfront about it. I think y'all bring up an interesting point. Like when you can tell something's AI, it's immediately off-putting and like, I don't want to be sneaky about it, but also I can't write knowledge check questions on concrete pours. So like I've used AI for this, please look over it and be like very critical of it. And so far, we have not put out anything incorrect using AI so far.
Kind of to reiterate what everyone else was saying, AI gets us half the way there. It's just to help speed us up, get us started. We can't count on it for a home run. Luckily, in my department, we're like encouraged to use it to get things done faster, but you just have to, check yourself, get another check from someone else, and then get your SME to check it as well. So, yeah.
Okay, so I think final question. I'd love to know if you've had just like a big win using AI, like you've been able to create something that you weren't able to create before, or anything that was like an aha moment when using LLMs or AI tools.
I mean,
Go
please,
ahead.
please.
We're a polite panel, huh?
We are so polite.
Okay. So I want to kind of take this down a different path. My win is not related to a concrete work example. My win is related to practicing empathy and strengthening the quality of my own interpersonal communication. There have been times in the past, both personally and professionally, that I've kind of like told ChatGPT the facts of how I perceive and I see a situation. And then I ask it, what might this person's perspective be? How might this come across to them? How can I communicate this to them, knowing that they like to be communicated with in this particular way? So it's helped me slow down, but also strengthened like emotional awareness and communication. And yeah, it's had a big impact both in my work and personally.
Yeah, probably one of the coolest things I feel like I've done with AI. I was actually able to integrate it in with Storyline. So it does a JavaScript call out to a prompt that is, pre-fed information. It knows what students are going to be saying, and it's able to give them a tailored response. And that's not something I ever really thought I would be able to do. And that's kind of one of the weird things about like text entries and storyline, right? It's so hard to get, meaningful feedback from that, especially if you're talking about like a long form answer. They're asking them to type into storyline. So to send that to a language learning model who I'm, relatively certain is going to give, reasonable feedback to the student, I thought that was really, really cool.
I'll talk a little bit about our team is slowly but surely converting our courses from English to Spanish using AI. And that is really, really cool. We have a huge Spanish speaking population and no one on our specific team who speaks Spanish fluently and can translate all of these courses. So to be able to feed these like course prompts and get them back in Spanish is huge. It's a huge win, and it's going to like open so many doors for this population of our workforce. They can now have the same opportunities that our English speaking population does. And that's very exciting.
Right.
I'll jump in. How I kind of see it as a win is it's showing my faculty that they don't just have to do PowerPoint lectures. And I think that's huge, is that just by, tweaking it a little bit or taking their lecture and putting it with AI and having it generate an activity that students can engage in to have more active learning, I think was a huge win. Like for me to be able to have somebody do a workbook was huge. And so I think for me, that's the major win to see that PowerPoints can be great, but that there's a whole other world of ways that students can learn and that AI can help you generate those activities for them to learn.
Fantastic.
For me, I would say it's changed the game, the way that people view training at my company, because originally in the field, they would just get notebooks and they just had to read through the courses, and that's how you were trained when you were hired. After that, then they moved it online, but it was the PDF of reading. And over time, it's slowly been updated to add pictures, but now we're able to do things like utilize AI to develop these training videos, and then other leaders see it and they're like, oh, wow, what's that? We want something like that for our department. And so it's just kind of like adding hype to our department and the work that we do. And it's just exciting getting that positive feedback.
That's great. That's great. And so I'll add this in. I'm doing some research around AI and the workforce, and I'd love your thoughts about. I've been talking to corporations like Boeing and Mercedes, and Emma is on here, Alabama Credit Union, and other places. And so, what the employers are saying that they are looking for from four-year graduates or other graduates is really the AI skills. So the discernment, the prompt engineering, the validation of the content, the iteration, and of course, putting your human oversight in there, but then also the communication skills, those soft skills, being able to talk about your process. And make decisions and when to apply AI and when not. So I just wanted your thoughts. If anybody's job seeking, or if anybody, what are you all seeing in your environments in terms of good AI and soft skill use?
I have an answer, but I feel like I'm always the one to talk first.
You can be, Preston. Go for it.
So, I mean, I don't know. AI is a tool, right? Like, I think that to have the mindset that, oh, we want someone who can use AI, I think that's kind of a flawed premise. That's like saying, like, for every tool, I want to make sure for every job, I want to make sure you can use a hammer. For every job, I want to make sure you can use a nail gun, and it may not be required. Also, just kind of like for me, I see AI as like something that facilitates what we do already. So I do think there's a scenario in which somebody is so effective at what they're doing that they don't need to engage with AI. So I don't think it's I don't think it's the right mindset to say, oh, you must be able to use AI. For me, I mean, and I'm instructional design, backwards design, what needs to happen? Can you do the thing or can you not do the thing? And if you can do the thing, then there's no need to engage with all these extraneous tools. Just do what you need to do.
Right. Other thoughts? I know I just threw that out at you.
I will say one other thing that I
ahead.
thought of that I've seen as kind of like an interesting trend is like how AI has almost been treated as like its own skill in the workforce. Because again, it's like, I mean, I've seen job applications for prompt engineers, and it's like, that's all we want you to do is like work on AI, which I think is interesting because again, it's like, I don't see AI as its own thing. I see AI as a tool that helps you do something else. So that's something I've seen that's I found very interesting.
I was just glad to hear the corporations and the people in those corporations talk about the soft skills in addition to being able to work with AI. And they're not saying, I want you to know everything about ChatGPT. It is, if a new tool comes out, then you're willing to give it a try, if it would be helpful for your business and be flexible, and that prompt engineering. So not even, you have to know Python, more of the general AI skills. So anything else that anybody wants to add before we open it up to questions?
I would just encourage you to be scrappy. I feel like instructional designers by nature, we're used to doing a lot with a little. So just pick an AI tool and just literally go nuts with it. Like find out what it can do. Even if it's something like, I know there's no way AI is going to be able to do this. Test it, try it out, see what it gives you. You'd be amazed at what it's capable of.
I also think that I just got back from a conference last week, and there was a lot of hysteria around instructional design and AI. Like, people, is AI going to take our job? I think if you know how to properly use AI, and your company can see the benefit in you because of your knowledge of AI and how it can help them, then you're a rock star, and there's nothing you have to worry about. So, I don't know if anyone else has heard that kind of rumblings around, but instead of embracing that fear, think about how you can utilize it to your advantage.
I'm going to agree with that wholeheartedly because AI is not going anywhere. It's just not. So we can be afraid of it or we can embrace it and learn how to apply it best in our workflows. And even I've alluded that I've used it personally some too. It's helped me plan like a bucket list trip and saved me tons of time that way. It helps me in terms of, okay, I have this recipe, but we're actually like a little bit short on this. Like, what can I do instead? So it's even stretching my skills like as a travel agent and a home cook. But yeah, pick a tool, embrace it, see how it works for you. Not all of them will, and that's perfectly okay.
Sure. I'm looking through the questions, and there was one question about ChatGPT getting really confused if you just had a really, really long thread going on. Thoughts about that? I mean, I have my own thoughts, but.
Yeah, ChatGPT has a token limit. It can only hold so much information at once. So just the longer the chat goes on, like it can't. I had issues with that trying to create my own GPT because I wanted to feed it a textbook. And that's when I learned very quickly, like it can only hold on to so much information. And the longer the chats go on, just eventually it forgets what it said at the beginning of the chat.
There's a comment from Michael that said, most people, including me, don't have the design sense to do instructional design, even with assistance from AI. So if someone is trying to create course content or an outline or anything like that, any quick tips that you could offer?
I'm not sure if this is what you meant, but I'm gonna go with the visual design lens. Um, I am not a graphic designer. It is not a strength that I have. Um, However, I've used it. I start the thing. Like I lay it out, I put it how I want, and if something looks off, it just like I can't place it, but something's just not right visually. I'll take a screenshot, put it into ChatGPT, and then ask for advice. Hey, how can I improve this? Something's wrong. I don't know what it is. Give me some advice. So yeah, that's how I've leaned into it for visual design, at least.
I've also had success doing that and also giving it like our company's branding material and having it edit or critique certain things, and that's been helpful. But from scratch, I haven't had much luck there.
Definitely. And so there are a couple of comments about Claude, and I believe that they have the project feature, but then there are also other tools, and they're not called the project feature, where you keep everything, you feed it all the information, kind of like Preston was talking about creating the chat bot and feeding it everything. It's really, I use Claude a lot, so it's really handy for me because I have like 15 different projects going on at the same time. And so then I can just go straight there instead of what was that prompt like 3 months ago and I didn't name it the right thing. So that is really, really helpful to have those buckets to put your prompts in and information. And Claude Code is really impressive. That is from Bruno. And yes, I think it has 42% of the market share. Claude Code does as of right now. I just gave a presentation to the engineering department at UA. Oh, there was a question for Justine. Oh, you answered. So there was a question for Justine. How did the AI voices in storylines sound? Are they mechanical?
I said it's hit and miss. Like I have my couple favorites, but there are some that are pretty robotic. Within, if I'm remembering correctly, within storyline and you're doing your voiceover, there's three different setting options. One of which is stability, like how close the sample voice is going to stay. And it's like you can go from 0 to 100. And then there's a couple other settings that you can just kind of tweak and play with. I also just got a trial for Well Said Labs. I have not used it, but other people within my company do. So I'm curious to see if that one's any better. And I did see some people mention that one in the chat too. I would like to expand to other tools because I don't want my company to hear the same two AI voices for everything that we do.
I believe in Preston, does the CAMs at UA have 11 labs and they do the vocal cloning? Do you know?
I don't know the particular product they use, but I do know that they do have I do know that they do the vocal cloning for sure.
Yeah, and I think it's pretty, so they have faculty come in and read a script, and then if the script needs to be updated for a video or something, they can generate a new video with it, you know, and it's, or a podcast or whatever. But yeah, I think, Play HT had great voices, but they're going out of business. Well, I think that we're at the top of the hour.